It is our own sense of separation, ignorance of our own essential divinity. Looking at it in another context, you don't offend the principle of mathematics if you add 2 plus 2 is 5. Mathematics don't sit off and sulk somewhere and say, I'm not going to give you any more mathematical principles unless you atone for this. You make the mistake and you suffer. If you add 2 plus 2 is 5 and give the person $5 for what you should be giving him for, you simply out $1. The principle is no way involved and is not offended by your mistake. So the point is, stop making the mistake and the problem is solved. It's as simple as that. We complicate it. The only absolution for sin is the realization of at-one-ment with God. Not atonement, but at-one-ment. But this at-one-ment is not a worship service or a special holy day. It's an awakening in consciousness, something that happens in us through our own commitment to lift up our eyes. So the key to the fourth commandment is in the Hebrew root of the word Sabbath, Shabbath, which means rest or intermission. The Sabbath was never intended to be a special day, but rather a specialization on any day, at any time, of the creative process, a period of spiritual recreation, a creative intermission from work, getting back into universal balance. The ancient Jews also had the idea of sabbatical year, when the fields were allowed to lie fallow for a year, every 7th year. This has led to our modern-day sabbatical year of educators who take a year off to refresh and then fill themselves academically. It's even the root of the idea of the 7-year statute of limitations goes back to this same idea, the seven-day Sabbath. We need to get the idea of the Sabbath day and of Sunday worship, get it clearly in mind, so as to understand this 7th day of the creation story. As we've said repeatedly, the 7 days of creation do not deal with time-space, but with orderly steps in the creative process, just as applicable to building a house as to formulating a world. So in a way, the 7th step, and God rested, says, when you have put your mind and heart and hands into a project, having done all, let go and let God breathe life into it, that it might become a living form. Some of you, I'm sure, have visited Hawaii, a beautiful place. You've probably wondered what it meant when people refer to you as Haoles, H-A-O-L-I. A Haole to a native Hawaiian are non-natives, people who are not native Hawaiians, not Polynesians, the Haoles. It's interesting how this word evolved. In the ancient kahuna practice, which was the Polynesian religion, a native would go reverently into his temple to pray. And when he'd finished his prayers, he would sit very quietly for a long period of time, as he puts it, to let God breathe life into his prayers. But when the Christians insisted on converting him, he was kind of shocked when note how the Christians prayed. They had a very peculiar way of rushing into the temple, mouthing a few prayers, and getting up and rushing out without taking time to let God breathe life into them. So the word Haole literally means without breath. People who don't let God breathe life into their prayers. This is the evolution of the word Haole, which is used quite prevalently in Hawaii today. So the 7th step in the creative process is to let go, to experience a time of silence, a period of incubation, to let the divine breath manifest in you. You may be concentrated in a time of oneness, maybe letting go of the project, letting it lie fallow in the mind while you go about your business, to return and commence the project at a predetermined time. There's a technique which I have used, and I say this very humbly. One doesn't like to talk too much about his own mechanics of doing things, but it's a very important illustration here. For many years, I've used a process that has been helpful to me, and I pass it along only because it may be helpful to another, but also because it's a good illustration. Whenever I have to give a talk, and I have many talks lined up ahead, radio talks and Sunday talks and lectures and articles that I write and so forth, whenever I have to settle on a talk, I take a file folder. I use more file folders than anybody, I'm sure, because I use them constantly and throw them away when I'm through with them. I take a file folder and I write on the heading, the little tab, the date and the name of the talk, if I have a name, or at least a general idea of it. Maybe the name will come later. And I put it in a folder, put the folder in a file. While I hold the folder in my hands for a few minutes, I meditate upon this idea. Just get the idea that this is a creative process that's unfolding here, and I'm not trying to finish it, simply trying to open my mind to ideas and let it unfold. I put the folder in the file, perhaps dropping a few notes that I may have at the moment on its ideas as to where it might go, drop it in the folder, and let it go. Put it out of mind. I have a filing cabinet that's just for this sort of thing. And in the weeks to come, if there are weeks ahead, sometimes there are days ahead, then if I ever get an idea at any time, I drop it on a piece of paper and drop it in the folder. As the weeks go by, perhaps a number of pieces of sketchy ideas accumulate in the file folder, maybe none. When I come around to use it, somehow I have the feeling that during this period, when I've created a file folder, symbolically I've created an open receptive sleeve, as it were, in my subconscious mind. And ideas automatically, like the computer, pull themselves into this area, like the swarming process that are accumulating and coagulating together, and fulfill themselves in this folder. When I come around to open the folder on the day when I have to begin the preparation for the talk, I like to think that, like Robert Louis Stevenson used to talk about, my mental brownies, God bless them, have done the work. Ideas suddenly begin to flow. Things begin to unfold easily because the creative process has been working all this time. So the file folder, to me, is the seventh step. It's the Sabbath day. It's the incubation period. It's letting it lie fallow. So often we decide to do a thing, we sit down and do it, and we do it all with our mind because we're trying to get it done. We want to work this thing out properly, and so it becomes all intellectual. But it's never the best. It's never your best work. The best thing that you can do in any area, whatever you may be doing, is always take time to have this incubation period. Maybe to, as we sometimes say, well, I got as far as I can go, and I'm going to sleep on it. That's an incubation period. That's the seventh, the Sabbath step. Letting it rest. Let it go. Many years ago, I've changed my habits as time goes along. Many years ago, when I first started out in this work, I always did my Sunday talk on Fridays. And let Saturday be the period of lying fallow. Insisted on always having a day in between. I totally forget about the talk. Go about do something else. Go to a football game. Listen to the sports on program. I'm a great sports lover. But do something. Get entirely out of consciousness. Because I found if I worried all day Saturday about the talk I was going to give on Sunday, it would never be my best because I was trying to do it. Try to do it on Friday, then let it go on Saturday. Use that as an illustration. Nowadays I may do the talk at other times, but I always have that period of letting it go, getting it completely out of mind. So anything you do, it's never going to be your very best unless you let go and let the incubation process take place. Let the brownies of the mind do their work, God bless them, as Stevenson says. Let the subconscious mind take that which you're trying to work and let the spirit move into it and inflate it and breathe life into it and let it unfold, let it happen. Then when you come back to the time when you have to get down to work and do it, it'll just ignite itself, it'll spark, and wonderful things will manifest and unfold because you're letting the divine process in you fulfill itself through you. So the seventh step in the creative process is to let go, to experience this time of silence. As the book of Isaiah says, in returning and rest shall you be saved, in quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. So the seventh step, God rested. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Return to the in the beginning God. Rest in your roots, confident of your oneness, and let it happen. Now life calls for balance. There's a tremendous need to infill. Not just a Sunday away from work to attend services, which is maybe good in itself, but that's not enough. It's so easy to get into the habit of going to a worship service and doing it all perfunctorily. We need time for spiritual infilling. We need the creative intermission. There's a wholeness within you always. There's a divine mind within you that rests in perpetual Sabbath. Charles Fillmore had an expression that he used that I just love. He used to say, there's a place within you where a church service is going on all the time. Your need is to enter in and experience it. In other words, you're always one with God, always. You can't get away from that. That's your nature. That's the whole of you. But we get out into the far country, we forget about it. We need to enter in and experience the oneness which is already there. So don't try to become one with God. It's a wasted effort. Don't try to be one with God. You are one with God. But you open your consciousness and listen, experience, accept the idea, enter in and experience it and let God breathe life into you. So many of the persons who try to learn to meditate balk at this point, fall down at this point, because they try to meditate. I've been trying to meditate for so long, a person will say. I've tried every system, I've tried every way, I've tried every position, on my back, sitting up, running, walking, out in nature. I've tried everything, but nothing works. There's no way that you can meditate by trying. It's not trying, it's being. It's accepting. So the whole approach to spiritual awareness is totally inside out and upside down from the normal human way of doing things. You experience God when you try not to experience God. When you simply let go. Ideas flow when you try not to get ideas. You say, I got to get an idea for this talk. I got to get an idea for something in my work. I work in an advertising office, and I have to get ideas in a campaign I'm putting up. I'm trying to get ideas. I work so hard. Don't try. Stop trying. Lay it out. Know what you want to do, what you need to do. Write a few illustrations before you in terms of the things that you have before you, the things that need to be answered, the problems that need to be solved, the decisions that need to be made, the goals that you have to direct yourself into. Lay them out before you so that you have a complete idea of what is needed. Then let go. Let go and listen. And listen. And let it unfold. Don't try. Let. Have you ever noticed that when you finish a job of some kind, especially a long and tedious job, you heave a sigh? Whew, boy. You may wonder what this is all about. Actually, it's a moment of release from tension. But even more, it's a kind of Sabbath. Having done all, let go. It would be good if when we heave that sigh, we get still for just a moment and experience the incubation process of mind, let something work. So what we've done takes on new meaning to you, has a new sense of accomplishment, a new feeling of it being an integral part of your life. Remember the source of the creative flow. Do your best, go as far as you can go, and then let go. Letting go is a fine art. And many persons fail in life in various projects because they're unable or unwilling to let go. It's the greatest lesson we can learn. Learn to let go, to let. There's a charming story that Ernest Wilson used to tell of a little child back during the days before television and radio. Can you imagine such a time? During a blackout, you have no lights. And those of you who live in the suburbs know this. You can't turn on a radio or on a television unless you have a battery-operated one. It's a real interesting experience. You might imagine, how did people get by years before they had radio or television? Anyway, this was back before that time, and the little child had to sit before the fire with her mother, and the mother was sewing and knitting. And the child, as a learning process and as a discipline, was required to make one patchwork piece every night before she went to bed. This little child had very stubby fingers. Sewing wasn't her thing. She would never be a seamstress. She'd struggle and struggle and struggle, and Mother said, no, you do it now. It's important that you do it. She'd finally get her piece done. It was all puckered up, and the stitches were crooked and so forth. The mother trained her always at night to take the piece and put it between the pages of the Bible so that the weight of the Bible would press it out, and also so that she should let the activity of God make the crooked places straight. So every night when she was through, she would go to her bedside where there was a Bible. She'd put it between the pages of the Bible. She'd go to bed and go to sleep. In the morning, she would go to the Bible, and sure enough, it was beautifully stitched and everything was perfectly straight. She said it was many years later in her life when she discovered the secret was that her mother used to come in every night after she was asleep, take the piece out, unpick it carefully, and sew it all together and make it just right. But she said when she discovered this, it didn't disillusion her, because though it didn't help her to become a good seamstress, it gave her tremendous insight into the creative intermission that God works through human hands to bring about good. Sometimes when we let go, not only do the mental brownies come to work in our consciousness, but somehow God often uses human hands to do things for us that help it all to come to place in the right thing. Even when you're working in an advertising campaign at the office, when you let it go, somehow outer sources come into play. Perhaps you pick up a paper and you read something, or you hear something on the radio, or talking to someone on the street, or someone walks into the office, and all the things just suddenly spark and come to play. The divine flow often uses other hands to bring about the fulfillment of your need. But the Sabbath, the creative intermission, is basic to the existence in this universe. It is an important time to check up on yourself, to determine if you're thinking, working, loving, and living in the flow of universal rhythm. Life needs, even demands, this creative intermission. And a good illustration, which at least seems to me to be very effective, is the beat of the heart, the constancy of the diastole and the systole of the heart. Contract, dilate, contract, dilate, contract, dilate. This goes on 75 times a minute, day after day, week after week, year after year, as long as you live. The interesting thing is there's more time in the rest than there is in the actual pumping. So that you could say that in 50 years of beating, the heart has actually been at rest for 30 years. That puts it in another graphic way, doesn't it? The heart is resting most of the time, not working. So it is with life. A dramatic demonstration of the creative intermission. There's a constant process going on in our lives. Most of the time, we're inactive, we're at rest. We have to honor this rest. Honor the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Honor this creative experience, this creative incubation time. Because it's a very important means of making our life whole, keeping it holy. There's an old hymn, "Take time to be holy." Maybe you remember that, I'm sure. It's time to be established in the awareness of oneness with the divine flow of wholeness. And the benefits are great. Increased ability to make decisions, to unfold creative ideas. You'll easily rise above the challenges of human relations. It will improve both your disposition and your health. In the marketplace of life, peace may seem to be elusive and even unattainable, but it comes easily to the mind that is disciplined to the creative intermission. Now, I'm not saying, by inference or direct reference, that there's no purpose for going to church on Sunday. Not at all. What I'm saying is, you do not earn any points with God for attending church or temple. The Sabbath, either a once-a-week involvement or a regular quiet time of meditation, is not for God's benefit, but for yours. I always remember, kind of facetiously, but it really happened, a man many years ago in Detroit. He was coming to our Sunday service at what we called Unity Temple. He couldn't find a parking place in the area, so there was a no parking zone all across the front of the building. So he parked in the no parking zone. Went in and he said, "Well, they wouldn't bother me. I'm going to church." So he came out, and the officer was giving him a ticket. "You're not giving me a ticket. I was going to church." The officer said, "What did you expect, a medal?" In other words, the church going is not for God's benefit, it's for yours. It's the benefit of your own conscience. If you accept it in the right spirit, it can be very helpful to you. So a meeting such as this, which we carefully call creative worship rather than worship, can work wonders for a person for several reasons. First of all, in the increased self-respect that comes from knowing that you made a commitment and kept it. Secondly, in the accumulative energy that comes from many persons swarming, as it were, in consciousness, and each person giving something to it and each person drawing something from it. But even more, in the experience that we establish a pattern and become a part of a process that becomes continuous. It is like rewinding the clock that keeps on going and chiming through the hours of the week. So if you join us here on Sunday, and we do invite you to do so, of course, we simply say, don't let it be the end of your worship, but rather a repeated new beginning of a sense of creative worship, which becomes an ongoing influence in your whole life. As you can see, we've dealt with the days of the creation as a 7-step meditation process. We've tried to relate it to the meditation flow, to see it as a continuum, as a constant unfoldment. We hope that it will be a useful tool in your endeavors. And remember that wherever you are, whatever your need, do your best, and then let go in a time of creative rest. Remember the Sabbath, the creative intermission. Return to the principle, one presence, one power, one mind, one creative flow. Believe that, and let it unfold. Let it unfold. We're going to review the 7 steps again, as we've been doing in a time of meditation. First of all, what is it you would like to apply this formula to? Do you have some important need in your life, some creative project that you're engaged in, or something that you need to decide on, or some physical need that you want to overcome? Think of it all as a creative unfoldment. Health, employment, relationships, personal overcoming. Think about some specific thing for a moment. Get the need clearly in mind, and sort of in imagination write it down on a piece of paper so you can get it clear. You know, just exactly what it is that you want to do and achieve. Think of this as a vessel to be filled, but you'll not do the filling. You're not going to try to demonstrate anything. Lay it all aside. As we've suggested time and time again, I want you to think of it as the unfoldment of a rose. So look at this rose for just a minute. Get the idea of how the blossom is when it's fully unfolded. But return in consciousness to the rose in a rosebud before it's ever come into the stage of fruition and fulfillment. Forget that thought of just where you are now as you close your eyes. You get the feeling of you as an individualized expression of the creative process. See this need before you as a tremendous vessel to be filled. We're going to hum again as we've done, but as you do, get the feeling that your humming is a vibration that is synonymous with, synchronized with this tremendous movement, flowing, unfolding process of the rose. So see the rose gradually unfolding. And the rose is the symbol of the desire and the fulfillment of the thing which you seek to unfold. First of all, we'll get ourselves established in the vibration as we hum. And hum one. One, one, one. And keep this humming going now. One, one, one. In the beginning, God. Breshith Elohim. Allness, oneness, wholeness, in which you live and move and have your being. Infinite mind, expressing as you, as a point of light. Let there be light. As you see through the experience of human life, into a perception of the tremendous enlightenment of spirit. You're living in a field of light. There's no darkness at all, no limitation. Let there be firmament. This is the faith perception as your faith unfolds. A sense of being able to see things not as they are, but as they can be. See your job, see the people around you, see all the things that you seek to unfold in your life as possibilities in the faith perception. Let the dry land appear. See the dry land coming out of the unformed waters of life into formed thoughts, to a formed idea, that which you seek to do. And the rose unfolds a little further. And God made the two great lights, the light of the sun and the moon, which we see as the understanding and the will. To see the light dawning as an aha in consciousness. Now I know how to do it, I know what to do, and the will to proceed and go forth with persistence and accomplish it. And the rose unfolds a little more. And let the waters swarm with living things, supportive and developmental ideas, swarming, coagulating, coming around the idea into the manifest form of all the ways in which you can do the things that need to be done. And finally, God made man. The completed plan formed, the prototype, manifest in consciousness. Goals, directions, steps, things to do, dominion. It is good, it is now, it is complete. And the rose is unfolded. And God rested. This is letting go. Rest, a period of incubation, a time of creative unfoldment, creative intermission. Give it over to the creative flow and let it lie fallow. Now let your mind center in vision, in imagination, upon the complete unfolded rose with its fragrance and its beauty, its fulfillment. And the rose symbolizes the complete healing of your life. All the good that you seek, all the things that you're trying to do are done for you, symbolized by this beautiful rose, the essence of your whole life. Now let this fade out into the distance, the last of your breath. But the beat goes on. The vibration continues. The vision of the rose remains as a symbol of the creative process ever at work in you, of your willingness to let it work, your commitment to keep in tune. And during this day and in the days to come, the whole thing, the whole pattern, the whole answer to your need will come forth in your consciousness. And you will know when and how to commence, or you suddenly become aware that the problem has resolved itself. But then you'll see that this has been an evolutionary process, and the evolution begins. But you have great faith. As you hold the image of the rose, the evolution continues to manifest in divine order, lead you in right and wise ways, guiding your hand and directing your footsteps, and putting the words in your mouth, that all things will manifest in divine order for you. And as we say so often, praise God for the truth that makes us free.